In this video, we are going to go ahead and take a look and apply the factoring that we just reviewed in order to solve some problems involving area and volume. So let's take a look. I want to find the height of the rectangle if the area is 10x squared plus x minus 2. So here's my rectangle. The base, 5x minus 2, I'm trying to find the height. Well, I know the area of a rectangle. We can call it base times height or length times width, same thing. The area is 10x squared plus x minus 2 equals, well, the base is 5x minus 2, and I'm trying to find the height. So in order for me to get the height by itself, I'm going to divide by 5x minus 2, and I'm going to go ahead and do that to both sides. So on the right, the 5x minus 2's will cancel. So what I have is 10x squared plus x minus 2 all over 5x minus 2 is my height. So just like we did earlier in this unit, we're going to go ahead and simplify, meaning we're going to try to factor. So I'm going to look at the top here, and I'm going to factor this. 10x squared plus x minus 2. There's no greatest common factor, so I can't do that. But I do notice that it's a trinomial. So I'm going to do the method that we learned in our last video. I'm going to take the factors of the first, so factors of 10, and then factors of the last, which is negative 2. And then I'm going to take the outer plus the inner, and I should get a 1 because that's what's with x. So when I think of factors of 10, I have 1 and 10, and I have 2's and 5's. I'm going to go ahead and pick my 2 and the 5. The reason why I'm going to do that is because in the denominator, I see that there's already a 5 there. So I'm going to take 5 times 2. And for me to get negative 2, I'm going to do 1 and negative 2. So I take the outer. Well, 5 times negative 2 is negative 6 plus the inner. 2 times 1 is 2, and I get negative 4. So that's not going to work. I'm going to keep that 5 and 2. But this time, I'm going to go ahead and try negative 2 and 1. So if I take the outer, 5 times 1 is 5, plus the inner, 2 times negative 2 is negative 4, and I get a 1. Well, there we go. We found our numbers. So if we think back to our pattern that we learned in our last video, the first two numbers represent the first two numbers in my parentheses. And then the last two numbers, so the factors of negative 2, represent those other boxes. So when I factor it, it's going to be 5x minus 2, and then it's going to be 2x plus 1, all over, the denominator was 5x minus 2, equals my height. Well, 5x minus 2 divided by 5x minus 2, that's going to cancel, and so my height is 2x plus 1. And there we go. And I'm going to put units with that. It's feet. So there's just an example of how we can use factoring trinomials to find the height. I want to go ahead and find the volume of this cube. Well, if it's a cube, that means the length, the width, and the height are all the same, and they are all the same. It's x plus 2. So if I want to find volume, it's going to be length times width times height, meaning I'm going to take x plus 2 times x plus 2 times x plus 2. I'm going to start with the first two, x plus 2. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to multiply that out. So x times x is x squared. X times 2 is 2x. 2 times x is 2x. And then 2 times 2 is 4. When I combine my like terms, the 2x's in the middle, I get x squared plus 4x plus 4. And then I have to go ahead and multiply that by my other x plus 2. So x squared times x is x cubed. X squared times 2 is 2x squared. 4x times x is 4x squared. 4x times 2 is 8x. 4 times x is 4x. And 4 times 2 is 8. And now I'm going to go ahead and combine any terms that I can. I have x cubed plus 2x squared and 4x squared is 6x squared. 8x and 4x is 12x, and then I have plus 8. My units here are centimeters cubed. So the volume of that cube is x cubed plus 6x squared plus 12x plus 8. Let's take a look at one more. I want you to go ahead, pause the video, try this on your own, and when you're done, come back and we'll see how you did. All right, welcome back. So the area of the base, so we're talking about this base down here, is x squared plus x minus 2. And I have to find that missing length. So I know, since it's a rectangle, the area of the base is length times width. So I'm going to go ahead and take x plus 2 times the length is equal to x squared plus x minus 2. So if I want to solve for the length, I'm going to divide by x plus 2. So the length is equal to x squared plus x minus 2 all over x plus 2. Well, just like we've been doing, I need to simplify that. And so to simplify that, I'm going to go ahead and factor the numerator. And so the numerator is x squared plus x minus 2, which means when I set up my table, I want factors of the first number, which is a 1. I want factors of the last number, which is a negative 2. And then I'm going to go ahead and take the outer plus the inner. Well, the only way for me to get 1 is 1 times 1. For me to get a factors of negative 2, I'm going to go ahead and try 1 and negative 2. So I'm going to take factors of the outer. 1 times negative 2 is negative 2. Factors, or multiply the inner. 1 times 1 is 1, and I get negative 1. But if I look, I need to get a positive 1. So I'm going to do 1 and 1. This time I'm going to make the 1 negative and that 2 positive. So let's see what happens with that. I'm going to take the outer. 1 times 2 is 2. Plus the inner. 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. And I get 1. So there are my factors. So when I rewrite this, I'm going to rewrite it as 1x squared, or I'm sorry, 1x, or just x, minus 1 times x plus 2. And it was all over x plus 2. Well, what cancels? My x plus 2, which means that the other side of that cube or that rectangular prism is x minus 1. So the length over here is x minus 1. The next thing I wanted you to do was write an expression for the volume of the rectangular prism, which means I'm going to take x plus 2 times x minus 1 times x plus 3. We have a little shortcut here. We already know that if we were to multiply out x plus 2 times x minus 1, we will get what we factored. So we will get x squared plus x minus 2. And then I'm going to multiply that by x plus 3. So x squared times x is x cubed. X squared times 3 is 3x squared. X times x is x squared. X times 3 is 3x. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x. And negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. I'm going to go ahead and combine my like terms. I have x cubed plus 3x squared plus x squared is 4x squared. 3x minus 2x is x, and then minus 6. And then the last thing is, what's the volume if x equals 5? So I'm going to go ahead and take my expression for volume, and everywhere I see an x, I'm going to plug in a 5. So 5 cubed plus 4 times 5 squared plus 5 minus 6. And I can go ahead and use my calculator. 5 to the third power is 125. Plus 5 squared is 25 plus, or times 4 is 100. Plus 5 minus 6. Well, 125 plus 100 is 225. Add 5, then subtract 6, and I get 224. And my units here, since I didn't give you any units, we're just going to go ahead and say units cubed. So that would be the volume of that rectangular prism. So there you go. There's another look at how algebra and volumes and areas are related.